So, let me tell you a story. It's a story about art, about money, and really, it's a battle for the soul of a city. We're diving into Shoreditch in London, where the brick walls themselves have this incredible tale to tell about how something that was once a crime became a multi-million-dollar business.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of it. Look at these two images. How on earth does the picture on the left, a gritty tag that could get you arrested for vandalism, somehow transform into the celebrated mural on the right? You know, the kind of thing that pulls in tourists from all over the globe. What was the tipping point?
To really get to the bottom of this, we've got to rewind the clock. We're going back to the 80s and 90s, because trust me, the East London you see today is a completely different world from what it was back then.
I want you to picture it. The factories have all shut down, all the industry's gone. Shoreditch is basically a landscape of empty warehouses, derelict buildings, and super cheap rent. Now, for most people, this just looked like urban decay, right? But for a new wave of graffiti writers, all those empty walls, well, they looked like one thing: a massive, perfect, and totally unregulated canvas.
And it all really kicked off with the tag. This was the simplest, rawest form of the art. It's just an artist's stylized signature, a way of marking your territory. This wasn't about painting pretty pictures, not at all. It was about claiming public space. It was a direct challenge to the whole idea of private property.
Now, here's where things get really interesting. As this whole scene just exploded, the local authorities had a huge problem on their hands. And their solution? Well, they decided to officially draw a line, not in the sand, but right there on the brickwork.
They basically came up with a new rule book. From that point on, some of this art would be officially labeled graffiti, and that meant it got scrubbed off the walls. But other pieces, the ones they deemed acceptable, they got a new elevated status. They were reclassified as street art and were left alone, even protected.
And check this out. This table perfectly illustrates their thinking. On one side, you've got graffiti. Visually, it's seen as messy, you can't really read it, it's all overlapping. And what does it mean? It signifies a fight for property, a kind of dirtiness. But then, on the other side, you have street art. That's figurative, it's clean, it's technically skilled, and its meaning? Oh, it's a beautiful decoration, maybe some social commentary.
So, when you boil it all down, here's the crucial point. It all came down to a single question. Does the art challenge the property, or does it make it look nicer? If the art was seen to add value, it got to stay. But if it was seen as just a messy claim on a surface, it was treated as vandalism and erased. Simple as that.
Okay, so let's follow the ripple effect here. Because the second that street art got this official stamp of approval, it didn't just change the walls. It unleashed an absolute economic tidal wave that would completely reshape Shoreditch forever.
150%.
Yeah, just let that number sink in for a second. That is how much property values in Shoreditch shot up in just 10 years, completely blowing past the London average. The neighborhood's new identity as an open-air art gallery had become its #1 economic engine.
And just like that, the floodgates just burst open. All of a sudden, you had street art tours popping up on every corner. Tourists were literally flying in from all over the world just to walk these streets. And the property developers? They realized they were sitting on a gold mine and started actively commissioning their own murals for their new buildings.
And this is the end result. The absolute ultimate irony, isn't it? The art that was born from rebellion and urban decay was now being used as a luxury amenity, a unique selling point to market multi-million-pound apartments.
Which leads us, of course, straight to the central and kind of painful conflict in this whole story. The very success that street art brought to Shoreditch is now the single biggest threat to the very culture that created it in the first place.
I mean, listen to this quote from a local campaigner. It says it all. The golden goose he's talking about, that's the authentic, creative, rebellious spirit of Shoreditch. And the fear is that the developers, in their massive rush to cash in, are about to kill it for good.
And that is the cruel paradox at the heart of this. The artists and the creative people who literally put Shoreditch on the map, the ones who made it cool and desirable, well, they can no longer afford to live or even work in the neighborhood their art helped build.
But don't think for a second the artists had just taken this lying down. They're fighting back, using the walls themselves. Take an artist like Stik. His figures are so incredibly simple, you feel like you could almost draw them yourself. But the message in a piece like this, which, by the way, was voted one of Britain's favorite artworks, is a powerful and direct statement about community and displacement in a neighborhood being torn apart by money.
So, where does all this leave the soul of Shoreditch today? Is the rebellion completely over? Has it been totally tamed and commercialized? Or is it just evolving into something new?
Well, the landscape is definitely changing. You see developers commissioning safe, corporate-friendly art. Iconic early stuff, like from Banksy, is now treated like it's in a museum, preserved behind perspex screens. The artists themselves are adapting, finding new temporary canvases on things like construction hoardings. And what's really fascinating, technology now lets you use an app on your phone to see the digital ghosts of artworks that have long since been painted over.
And all of this leaves us with one final massive question we have to ask. The story of Shoreditch proves that a few cans of spray paint can literally change the fate of an entire community, for better and for worse. So, when art has that kind of power to build and destroy, who should get to decide what goes on the wall? Who truly gets to hold the pen?